Okay, so you already know how to make the data in your database to be available in the web. Let me just run this. So I'm going to access the member. And yep, we can see this data. And let's look at the code, how we can access this data properly. So as you can see, now we are accessing, we have the fuse.py. This the fuse.py will go to this HTML file, and we want to pass, we want to parse these members. This members is from the member.objects.on. Means we want to show all the data from the table member. And if you open your database, I think into there is no member here. Okay, yeah, if I refresh this one, then you can see there is a new table here, user mgmt member. So you can open this part. We have the user mgmt member. If you open this, then you will see that there is one data, Mr. A. The first name is AA, the last name is BB, and the email is abc.com. So we did this one using the admin. We input the data in the admin. So you can use this way to input the data one by one, or you can use the admin. In the admin, you can also input the data one by one. And yeah, we know how to deal with the HTML file. This HTML file is in the list members.html. Yeah, this is the member list, and then we know that we are going to create a table. So the table contains of the header. This is the header. We have the ID, salutation, first name, last name, and email. And then the second row or the next row will be the data. And we are going to look. So we are going to look at the elements from the members. So you can just use for loop for the member in members. In this case, we already defined the members in the members as the variable members from the database. So we will get all the data in the kind of dictionary, and we are going to put it every element in this variable. And after we have all those elements, we are going to put each of these attributes into the column. So we put the member.id, we put the member.salutation, we put the member.first name, member.last name, member.email. So every of this one will be from the attribute that you define in the model. So you have the salutation, you have the first name, you have the last name, and you have email. As you might know, when we create the table, there will be one new column. It is an automatic generated by SQLite. We call it, this is the primary key or the ID. So you can access this one, and in my case, I want to access it and show it. So I just use member.id to access the data. Okay. So I guess this one is, you already understand. We want to include the URLs into our system, and we want to view all the members whenever we access members. So please remember that you need to define this name clearly, because I will use this one later. Okay, so I think you already know how we define for every Python files. In the views.py, we use we use render instead of get template as an alternative. So if you look at the views.py, in the views.py, now you are using render. Okay. So actually it is the same way to do to show the data into the web. We can use render or we can use the get template. I think if you look at the previous one, in the FAQ, when we use all the renders. I think when we use the first one in the, not in the big project, the previous project, we use the get template. So please check that one. And here we also use, we are going to use form. Okay. So what is form? We will look at those later. Okay. How we can define a form. And then for the design, we just use the bootstrap. I guess you already know how we can deal with the bootstrap. So I just use this link to access the bootstrap, and I'm just using the CSS from the bootstrap. And because this class is not for making a good UI, so you can just use the common UI. In this case, I'm just using the table strap from the bootstrap. I think it is enough for the fancy table at this moment. So yeah, we are using the bootstrap, and I'm using the CDN, which is the content delivery network. So it is free, you can use it. And you can define the table as you wish. So for this example, I'm using only one kind of table, which is the table stripe. So you can figure out what kind of table that you can use. Maybe for your team project, you can define another kind of table. Okay. This is the link if you want to look at the bootstrap more, especially the table stuff. Now, let's deal how we can do more with CRUD. So we learned the CRU is the CRUD, C is create, R is read, U is update, and D is delete. Now, I would like to make a model form. Okay. So in this model form, let's create a new file. We call it forms.py. Let's create a new file in the user mgmt. Let's make a new Python file, forms.py. Okay, let's make a new file, forms.py, and then let's copy and paste this forms. So this form means that I'm going to use the Django form, and then I'm going to use all the data from the models.py from the class member. And for this member form, I'm creating a new class member form, and this member form will be using the model form, and the class will be from the model, which is from member, and then I want to use all the fields. So let's see why we need to use this one. After we have the forms, now we can define again about how to create the member. So let me just give you a very simple form. You can design by yourself later. Let's use this one. And this is a new function, and you can put it into the fuse.py. So you can open the fuse.py in the user mgmt, and then you can make a new function. So in this case, I'm going to use the member form. The member form has been defined in the file forms.py. And in order to create the member, I'm going to use that form. And for now, let's just use this one. Okay, maybe I will give you more explanation. What is the meaning by this? Request.post. So I'm going to make the request with post unknown. So it means if it is not post, then okay, you don't need to do anything. And if the form is valid, so here, if the form is valid, so if all the input is correct according to the data and the requirement, let's save. So do you still remember this save? This is a part of the SQL. When you do the SQL, you can also do with .save. It means you will save the contents into the database. And then we have the redirect. So if we know that the form is valid, so let's get back to the list member. What is the meaning by list member? This is the name of your URLs. So if you press the control, then you will go to the list members, which is the URL to show all the list members. So this name is very important. So if you make the wrong name, then you cannot go back to the particular URL. The last one, we are going to access the member form.html, and this member form will use the data which is form. So this is the fuse.py. So the first step is to define the fuse.py. And then after I know the fuse.py, you need to put one more link. So whenever the user wants to make a new ID or they want to create a new data, then yeah, they will go to a particular link. For example, this one. So I'm going to put this, I want to put this one into the URLs. So when I go to new, then it will create a new member. After we have these URLs, now I need to update the list member. So this list member, okay. So I give you the very simple code. I think you already know how to manage the table. So the table, in this case, yeah, we have the table and then we have the row, and then we have another row which is a for loop for all the data, and you already know the CDN. This is the content delivery network. So before this, let's create a new line to this HTML line. So I will copy and paste this line. I will copy and paste this line, and then you can put it into the HTML file. So before the CDN, you can put this line. So if I click this new member, it will call the add member. What is add member? This is the URL. Okay. This is the URL that I defined in the URLs.py. So if I click the add member, I will do this function, create member. Okay. So after I have this link, so it means when I click this add member, I will go to the new. And I need to make a new HTML file, which is the member form.html. Okay. I will copy this one, and then I will make the member underbar form.html in the user mgn. I will make a new form, I will make a new HTML member underbar form.html. So I will replace with the code that I put in the PowerPoint. So you can look at this. This is the title, the header, new update member. We are just using the container from the Bootstrap. And this is the form. So you already learned form in the HTML when we learn for the HTML at the first time. We are going to make a form, and this form contains all the data that you have in the database. So we use this CSRF code. We'll explain this one later. And I will put for every of these data. And then I will have button, and I have another button. Okay, so let's just do it. Okay, when you refresh this link, you will see there's a button here, new member. Okay. So when you click this new member, then you will go to a new page. This is a page to update or make a new member. So let's say I have Miss BBCC, and then the email is bbcc@bc.com. Okay. So I will save, and then now you can see that the data has been updated. Now I have a new data, which is Miss BBCC, and the email is bbcc@bc.com. Okay, until now, please do and let me know if you have any problem. So by doing this one, you can add more data in the web. So you don't need to access the database, you don't need to access your item. So anytime you can make a new data here. So I put some explanation for the code that you have. First, about the form. What is the meaning by form? So it is a line to create an object when a submit is requested. So when you have the form, there will be a submit button. So it will be always a submit button like this one. So in the button part, in the member form.html, there will be a submit. The type is submit. So whenever you save, because the type is submit, then you can do for this member. Is valid means it is a function that returns Boolean. It is true or false to confirm that the form is valid or not. A form is not valid if the contents do not satisfy the input criteria. For example, if email does not contain at, then it will not be valid. Form.save. It is function to execute the form and submit the data in the form in particular functions. So when you know that the form is valid, you want to save it to your database. Redirect. It is a function to execute an HTML file according to the need. So for example, if I make a new member, let's say I have Mr. CCDD at cd.com. Maybe, okay. I just have this email, CCDD. Is it working? When you save, it will be error because we know that this type of data is email. So it will show the error message or the warning. You need to fix the data. Let's say, okay, I do not want to update this data, so I want to cancel. If I do the cancel, then it will go back to the previous, or we will go back to this member list page, and the data has not been updated. So that's the meaning by the redirect. So to execute another URL, we can use the statement URL. In this case, you already know from the previous lectures, we use the URL to go to another link. So this site generates a unique token when it makes the form page. So whenever you create a new form, it will make a unique token. What is this token? I think last time I mentioned to you, if you go to the setting, we have like this secret key. So this secret key is similar with the token. Whenever you create the form page, Django will create you a token, and it is necessary, it is required for the post or get data back to the server and to check whether the token is the same or not. So if you submit data and then the submission is from different token, then it will not be valid. So that's why we need to use this CSRF token. CSRF means this one, cross-site request forgery. Okay, this one is the CSRF. So it is necessary to make this line. Since the token is generated by your site and provided only when the page with the form is generated, some other site cannot mimic your form. They won't have the token and therefore cannot post to your site. So this is the importance of the CSRF. And when we use the Django, it is more secure than other kind of framework. And I will give a simple JavaScript to return to the previous page without any submission. On click, it is a statement on the JavaScript to execute a function whenever an element or button is clicked. So if we have this sorry. So we have this one button on click. So this button will go to the previous slide, to the previous page that you have. So it means window.history back. So you go back, and it will return according to the history of your window. So it is for the cancel. I think I need to make it clear between this history back and redirect. Oh, what's the redirect? Okay, so the redirect means after we do this one, we will go back to the list member. If we have this Windows history back, so we don't do anything, and then we return back to the previous page. Okay. So that's about the create. Now, I want to update. It means maybe I miss the email address. The email address is typo, mistyping, or the name should be updated. Now let's do this one. Append function update member in the fuse circuit. So let's do this one. In the fuse circuit, I will have a new function, update member. And I hope until this one you already understand what is the difference between get and filter. Get means I want to get only one ID. Filter, you can have more than one data. And then again, we have the form, and I'm using the member form. Again, we are using the request.post or none. And now the instance that I want to show here is member. It means when I already get the ID, so I want to show it in this form. Again, after you do some modification on the form, if it is valid, save it. And then after you save, you will go back to the list member. This is the same. We are using the member form. because when we update, the data will be the same with the create. So we use the same HTML. But now we have two data. The first data is form, and the second data is member. So we will see what does it mean. After we have the views.py, let's make a new link. So the new link will be about this update. So I will need to go to the URLs and I have another update. So this update will show the integer ID. So if the ID is number 1, then it will show the update 1. If the ID is number 2, then I will show update is 2. And I will do the update member function. Now, in the HTML file, I would like to add one more column. Let's make one more column, which is update. And then let's make one more column here to indicate that I'm going to update the particular row. So let's copy and paste this th into the member list, less member. So in this case, I have, okay, I have the new column update. So th is the table header. And then I will need to have one more column here. It is the button to add. Okay, we have a new button. This is the button info. And whenever I click this button, it will click the update member. And I'm going to pass the number because the URLs requires one integer number. The integer number will be the ID. So when you click here, it will show the ID. Okay, now let's update. Okay, when you update it, then you will see. But if you click this, then all the data will be shown here. Now we have Mr. AABB ABC at abc.com. Yeah, you can change, for example, okay, I want to change the name from AA to AA1, for example. I can save. When I save it, so you can see that now the first name has been updated, AA1. Okay, so just I want to know whether you can do well. Yeah, so the explanation will be about the forwarding. Okay. I guess you already know if we want to access the link, in this case the update member, I will do this update member and then I need to pass the ID. So I need to pass the ID here and then the ID will be used in this update member. When you define the function, the update member, it will have the request, comma, ID. Because this ID will be in the this ID will be shown in this update and then you will need this ID for the update member. And when you do this one, the ID here will be the ID to get the data. So this ID equals to the ID that has been defined in the parameter. And after we get this data, we want to put this data into the form. That's why the data here, which is instance equal to member, it will be shown in the form. So whenever you click ID1, then you can see the data for ID1. When you click the row number 2, then it will show the data number 2. So the remaining are the same. We just define the form and the member. And the member form is just the same. Okay? You don't need to modify anything because we are using the form. So the form will be always the same as long as it is connected to the data that you requested. Okay, and the last part is about delete. So let's say I have many data and I want to delete some unnecessary data. Let's make a new function in the fuse.py, delete member. So this delete, I will delete a particular ID. And then I will call the member ID if it is the method is post, then let's delete it. And then I will get back to the list members. So before I delete, I want to make the confirmation. So there should be a kind of text to say that are you going to delete this data, because it is the common way. Maybe the user did something wrong, and then when they click, they didn't realize that it is a delete button. So we need to make the confirmation text. And after we have this function, let's make a URLs. So the URLs will be the same as the update. We need to make a particular ID. So the ID will be attached in this link, and then whenever we call the delete member, we will delete only this particular ID, not all the data. And after this, now let's put 3 lines here. This is in the member form.html. Okay. This is in the member form.html. You can go to the member form.html. In the last part, you can put this line. If member what does it mean? If member, what is this member? If you look at the fuse.py, we have one data, member. This member is the ID that you refer to. So if we have the member, then we can delete it. If we don't have the member, or if you want to create a new ID, so you cannot do any delete. Okay, so we will check later. So before we check that one, let's create a new HTML file. So this HTML file is the member delete confirm. Member delete confirm. So in this confirmation page, again, I'm going to use the CSRF token. This is the cross, so for the policy for the forgery. And yeah, we are going to check. Are you going to remove? Are you sure to remove this member? So I would like to get the first name of the member that I want to delete. So it is just a confirmation. And if it is true, delete, then it is the submit. If it is the submit button, then it will go to the syntax this one. If you click the submit, then yeah, we know that it is the request, and this kind of submission is kind of push. So if it is true, then delete it. Now, if I refresh this one, let's click the update number 2. Now you can see there is a delete button. But if you just create a new member, there is no delete because we do not know what should we delete. So if we update this one, okay, let's say I want to delete this Miss BBCC. So I delete this, and when I click the delete button, there will be a confirmation page. Are you sure to remove BB? This is the first name of the person or the member in the ID2. If I click delete, then it will go back to the member list and the data just remain the ID person. So the issue will be about the ID. Let's say after I delete that one and I want to add a new member. So I have a new member, Miss maybe EEFF. The email is eeff@ef.com. Let's see. Okay, let me make this data eeff@ef.com. So what you see here is the ID becomes 3. Okay, so where's the ID 2? It has been deleted. Okay. So the database, because it will create a new data automatically, so yeah, you cannot go back to the previous ID. So this line refers to the deletion of the member, and I'm going to give the member.id for the deletion. So we have this one in the member form. So if there is a member, if it is a member, then let's put this button. If the user agree to delete, then yeah, we go to the delete member, which is going to the member delete confirm before we delete it. So this is the system architecture. When you write the proposal, yeah, maybe you cannot figure out the details of this system architecture. But at the final report, you need to write down what kind of function, what kind of files that you use for your system. So in this case, in the views.py, you have list members, create members, update members, delete members. And then in the urls.py, you have for links. You have the member deletion, you have the member update, you have the member insertion, you have the member detail list. So we call this is the user management. Okay. Maybe this is the user setting. Yeah, you can make your own name. And then we have the data model, which is the member. And whenever we do the request from the browser, there will be three kinds of HTML file. Member delete confirm, member form, and list member. So whenever we do requests, there will be a response. Okay. And we have this one as the models, we have this one as the views, and this is the template. Okay, so yeah, we already did this one, the system architecture and the user management system for the registration, make the lists and then update and delete.